When you think of the Rashtriya Swayamsevaks Sangh, your mind goes to Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, places with strong Hindu majorities where Hindutva's political rise seems obvious. Now think of the Northeast, a region where Christians dominate entire states, where indigenous communities practiced animist faiths, and where Muslim infiltration from across Bangladesh has reshaped demography. This is a region where Hindu nationalism should have struggled. And yet today, the Sangh Parivar is one of the most powerful forces here. The BJP governs nearly every Northeastern state. How did this happen? How did the movement born in Nagpur take root in Nagaland, Tripura, Arunachal and Assam? That is the story we tell in our book, From Frontiers to the Heartland, a century of Sangh Parivar in the Northeast, published by Rupa. The story begins in the 1940s and the 50s. Early swayamsevaks, mostly from Maharashtra, arrived in Assam. They faced an uphill battle. They couldn't speak Assamese, let alone Naga, Khasi or Mizo. And they were vegetarians in a region where fish and meat were staples. At first, the people laughed at them. They were dismissed as outsiders, even by local Hindus. The Congress, then the dominant party, treated them as a nuisance. But the RSS adapted. They learned Assamese, even ate local food. Slowly, shakhas took root. The Sangh's greatest asset was patience, but there was little success. Then came the emergency, 1975 to 77. For the RSS in the Northeast, this was the first Crucible. Hundreds of swayamsevaks were arrested. They were beaten, tortured, forced to sleep on blocks of ice in Assam's winters. But repression couldn't break them. Underground resistance flourished. Pamphlets were printed secretly, sometimes using roti rollers as printing tools when machines were seized. Messages were smuggled under food baskets. Students and housewives risked their safety to hide pracharaks. This period transformed how locals saw the RSS. No longer just Nagpur men in khaki shorts. They were young Assamese, Nagas, Mizos, Manipuris, risking their lives for freedom. In the crucible of the emergency, the Sangh stopped being an outside organization. It became a part of people's families. The 1980s brought another turning point. The Assam Agitation against illegal Bangladeshi migrants was in full flow. Here, the Sangh aligned itself with a deeply local cause, protecting Assamese identity. Militants began to see them as threats. Alpha in Assam, NLFT in Tripura, groups with guns and ideology attacked swayamsevaks. Several pracharaks paid with their lives. Murli Manohar, Om Prakash Chaturvedi, Pramod Dikshit. Their blood cemented the Sangh's commitment to the Northeast. In the late 80s and early 90s, the Ram Janambhoomi movement electrified India. But in the Northeast, the Sangh understood something different. Its growth depended not just on Hindu mobilization, but on supporting indigenous traditions. This was the cultural turn. Through the Vanavasi Kalyan Ashram, the RSS supported faiths under threat from conversion or erasure. The Heraka movement in Nagaland, linked to Rani Gaidinliu's struggle, found new confidence. The Rangfrah movement in Arunachal got a statue of their god and began to codify its practices. The Donyi-Polo faith, worshipping the sun and the moon, gained institutions, prayer halls and literature. In Meghalaya, the Seng Khasi revitalized indigenous Khasi spirituality. For many communities, the Sangh was the first organization that said, your tradition matters, your gods matter, your way of life deserves preservation. This approach expanded the RSS into areas where it had never been welcome before. By the 2000s, the Sangh's work shifted from mobilization to service. Seva Bharati and Vidya Bharati set up schools, hospitals and hostels in the remotest areas of the country. For poor families in remote villages, these weren't just institutions, they were lifelines. Parents began associating education, health and opportunity with the Sangh. Many students went in different parts of the country, and children raised in these hostels and schools grew into local leaders, pracharaks and swayamsevaks themselves. All this groundwork paid off in 2014 when Narendra Modi, a former pracharak, swept to power. For the first time, the BJP gripped the Northeast. From Tripura to Assam, Arunachal to Manipur, the party built on decades of RSS outreach. What began as a handful of shakhas run by outsiders had become a political and cultural force shaping governments. But is this the fairy tale ending? Not quite. With the BJP in power, many now want to join the RSS for political benefits. The danger is that the Sangh becomes a stepping stone to power rather than a movement of conviction. A senior pracharak told us that the RSS isn't about power. He said, "We can't help anyone get power. We don't care about power. During the emergency, families risked their lives to hide us, calling us chacha, mama, bhai, bhatija. This is what the RSS really is, becoming a part of people's families. That, ultimately, is the lesson of the Sangh in the Northeast. It succeeded not by imposing, but by becoming. From outsiders to insiders, from suspicion to trust, from frontiers to heartland." I am Nabaarun Barooah, and along with Rohin Deb, I co-wrote From Frontiers to the Heartland, a century of Sangh Parivar in the Northeast. It's not just a political story, it's a human one of sacrifice, adaptation, and resilience. And if you want to understand how the Sangh Parivar reshaped India's Northeast and how the Northeast reshaped the Sangh, this book is for you. Thank you.